Good afternoon, everyone. You're very welcome to today's webinar. Just conscious we're 12:30 now, so we're just going to give it maybe a moment or two, let everybody join, and then we'll get kick-started. Okay, I think we'll get started. Um, you're very welcome, everybody, to our January IWFM Ireland webinar. And we're joined by Michael Young, CEO of Infosight. So just to walk you through today's format, we're going to start with a small introduction for IWFM Ireland, who we are, what we do. I'm going to hand over then to Michael Young, very capable hands, and he's going to tell us all the amazing things about smart buildings, smart choices, and maybe how to sort those gaps between where you are, where you'd like to go, and a roadmap potentially of what that might look like. So in terms of who we are and what we do, my name is Derek Boyle. I'm a member of the IWFM Ireland Committee, and we hold a number of these webinars and activities throughout the year. And for those who are joining us for the first time, just to give a synopsis of what we've done over the last kind of 12 to 18 months. So we mix them up between physical on-site networking tours to knowledge share webinars like we have today. So we've done everything from tours of the Criminal Courts of Justice, which was a fantastic visit. And we've done circular economy thinking, business value. We've done webinars on green public procurement. We've had our very successful FM Summit in September in TUD. We've looked at webinars such as Every Building is a Smart Building with SnapFix and a team there. And we've had a tour of the Aviva Stadium, excuse me, which was fantastic there in November. And we also had our sustainability and resilient FM standard in December. So look ahead for 2024. We have obviously today with Michael and digital gap analysis in FM and smarter choices for smarter buildings. In February, we're looking at a bit on indoor air quality. In March, we have a WellCert tour of Albert Quay with Connor and the team in Arbs and Cork. In April, following on from today, a bit more future in AI and FM. And we've a planned FM lunch event and awards there at the end of May also in the Gibson. So it's one to keep an eye out for. And we have a facilities contract workshop planned for June around risk, redundancy, to-pay, financial contract standards. So we've been getting an awful lot of feedback on that over the last couple of months. So we have Lynn there for June. So I suppose in terms of the IWFM team, who we are, and we sit on consultants, we sit on demand side, we sit on supply side, but we really are a representation of the FM industry in Ireland. If there's anybody there that you'd recognize, feel free to reach out if you're not already a member. of IWFM Ireland. And indeed, Charlie Quinn down here in the bottom left, he's our membership guru. We can tell you all the amazing things about IWF Ireland, what we do, and get you signed up if you'd like to join our team. The strategy around what we do as an organisation. We are your voice in the industry, and we represent the industry with government. And we like to provide insights in terms of the live information that we have within the IWFM team and also within our communities, and bringing that network and knowledge there element. And we like to think we're a development partner in terms of our development and partnership with third level education, but also some of the training courses we're affiliated, and we help grow and throughout the country and help your capability as FM in the industry. So why are we having this chat around today? Well, over the last number of years, everything revolves around data, and that's no different in the built environment. Our buildings today rely on everything data-wise for communication, security, automation, asset management, energy management, sustainability, and so much more. And that data analytics piece and artificial intelligence is playing such a broader role in everything we do within our buildings and analysis, and trying to help provide reports and identify patterns, improve performance, deliver that greater levels of automation and support within our buildings. But it poses a couple of questions. So how can we select the best solutions for our own buildings, our own organizations, because there isn't a one-stop shop for buildings as a whole. Everything's different. And how do we assess our current capabilities versus what we want to be doing in the future? How do we find the best team to support us on that, the best technology and the best vendor? So the presentation that Michael's about to outline today is all around smarter choices for smarter buildings. And we all want to be able to work smarter, not work harder. And hopefully Michael is going to tell us a little bit about that now shortly. So to give an introduction into Michael, he's an experienced engineer, technology consultant and senior executive. He's been in the industry well over 25 years in various roles, from mechanical engineering to automation to IT, senior executive in a range of organizations from startup through to large corporations. He's worked with many different companies, data analytics, AI sectors, and more recently with a leading provider of building analytics and intelligence solutions. He's CEO of InfoSight. It's a company that leverages AI to automatically identify the optimal technologies for buildings. And he's currently working with a number of early adopters in that space. And hopefully we'll have a couple of more early adopters after this discussion here today, Michael, please God. So I'm going to hand over now to Michael. I'm going to stop sharing there in a second, hand it over to Michael. And Michael is going to present through to about maybe 10 past, quarter past one. And you'll see a Q&A question box either at the top or the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there, and we'll pick them up in our Q&A section there from quarter past one to about 1:30. We wrap it up at 1:30 sharp, and conscious of everybody's lunchtime. And hopefully you'll go away with some brief and summarized discussion points that you can challenge within your own organizations from there. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Michael.
Thank you very much, Derek, for that fine introduction. So let me
up to now, Michael.
Share. Let me share my screen and go into presentation mode. And you folks can tell me if you can see what I'm sharing.
Yeah, loud and clear there, Michael.
Brilliant. Okay, so hello everyone. Michael Young, as Derek said. Delighted to be here today. And good afternoon to all of you. Today, just going to give you a high-level introduction, I would call it, right? Really into how we can really leverage data to really make more data-driven and informed decisions around solutions. And ultimately, look, just try and get like Derek said, the smarter choices for our buildings today. So look, I'm going to start with a little bit of a walk down memory lane for some of us, right? Really talking about the evolution of data, because data is just prevalent everywhere in our world today, and not just in the built environment. And over a very, very short time, actually, it's just exploded. So really to talk a little bit about that, but in particular, how that's affected the built environment and a lot of the changes that you folks are seeing with the solutions and the amount of innovation that's going on in that space. And that leads then into talking about, you know what, the challenges that are out there for any stakeholder, whether it's FM, our tenants, our landlords, our property management companies, anybody working in this space in the built environment. And then we get into the good news, because there is hope, right? There is ways that we can leverage data methodologies and technologies to actually help us get smarter around how we do that. And I'll share some of those concepts and actually show you some of that modeling that can actually be used to do this. So I think, as Derek said, we'll be keeping questions to the end. So if you have questions, please keep them and be happy to answer. As always, what we're looking to do here is work very closely with the industry to continue to develop something that can really enable you folks and help you do your jobs better and easier. So very keen to talk with some of you, or as many as possible afterwards, offline, if possible as well. So let's jump straight in. So there's an interesting quote here, right, from a gentleman called Eric Schmidt, who's actually the former CEO of Google, where in the digital age, we're creating more data every 2 days than we did from the beginning of human civilization to the year 2003. Every 2 days, we're creating more data, right, between dawn of civilization and 2003. 2003 wasn't that long ago, right? Okay. But the fact is that quote was made back in 2010, right? And back in 2010, it's estimated we were generating probably about 11,000 petabytes of data every 2 days. We're now generating around, it's estimated, around 350,000 petabytes of data every 2 days. That's a 98% increase, okay? If Eric was to say his quote now, it would be every 48 minutes we're creating that much data, okay? And that's just even in the last 13 years since he said this, 13, 14 years. Data is just exploding. It's everywhere, right? And again, not just in the built environment, it's everywhere in our world today. And I wanted to kind of really step back a little bit and kind of say, how did we get to this point, right? And there's a couple of key milestones. The big one, I suppose, back in the 90s, and a lot of people, some of us here on the call maybe, would remember, you know, the processors coming out, and Pentium processors, and that really sparked a PC revolution, right? Where we were really seeing PCs really in every office and home, right? We were seeing so many different PC-driven devices, then leading into those PCs, processors becoming available much more wider for a lot of different networking devices, Cisco networks, Aruba networks. We had wireless LANs, MANs, PANs, personal area networks, Bluetooth, right? So networking took off, a huge boom to start interconnecting all these different type of devices. And really, at the back end of the noughties, we really started to see over 1 billion interconnected devices. Okay, so what resulted from this? Well, what resulted from this was so many devices and so much interconnectivity. We started to see maybe smart devices and Internet of Things and sensors connecting. We start to see an explosion in data. And we started to hear the term big data, data lakes. And data is the new oil, right? Because we'd be extracting value from data to really get additional business value. Okay, so all driving more and more interconnected devices, more networking. And then something very exciting happened. Well, I get excited about it, right? Okay, is really, and we've seen it really mentioned in the news an awful lot in the last, even in the last year or two, right, is AI. And how is AI becoming so prevalent? Well, AI, huge amount of processing capability out there. We have graphical processing units now, like the NVIDIAs, which are just churning through data. We have that huge amount of data that we're building up. All this is very, very important ingredient to be able to train these AI models. Okay, even OpenAI, which is responsible for ChatGPT, took all the data on the internet and fed it into this processing power, and they get ChatGPT and these different type of unsupervised learning models. Where are we going? I don't know. Quantum computing, right, which some people probably hear about. And it's not just in Star Trek, right? It's just around the corner. It's going to really upend how we know processors and traditional processor architecture works, from working like switches and bipolar transistors on devices, which were just ones and zeros to now moving to subatomic particles, right, that can exist in multiple states at once, right? Okay, so wrap your head around that. So really, we're going to see the explosion and the increase in processing power move to a whole new level. What's that going to spawn in terms of other applications, and in particular AI? I don't know. But it's the trend is definitely continuing. So really, this data is just going to continue to explode in our world, but also in our built environment. Okay, and I think everybody sees that. And I suppose if you look at the bottom of this upside down pyramid, we can probably hark back to a simpler time if we go back and think about maybe the early 90s, where I started my career. And you know, life was much simpler, where we had maybe just a few core systems on a building. We had hardwired relays, might have had some basic PLCs, right? Programming basic inputs, a bit of Boolean logic, and a bit of outputs. But really then, as that processing power kicked in and that networking started to kick in, we started to see more devices, we started to see more computing, we started to see cloud computing. So a lot of applications no longer need to reside on premise. They could be used over the internet. We really started to see smart meters and Internet of Things devices starting to take hold. So built environment and buildings were starting to generate a lot more data, just like the wider world. And that then really spawned the need for these types of analytical type of applications within the built environment as well. Okay, so you can see the range of applications that are continuing to just emerge in the analytics space, and now starting with predictive cleaning and predictive maintenance and other types of cognitive building systems. We're going to start to see much more AI type of applications start to take hold. Where's it going to end up? Well, probably not end up, but where's it going to go next? It's hard to say. Some people say there's smart buildings out there already. I tend to disagree. I think we've got a lot of smart technologies, we've got a lot of smart solutions, but I don't fully believe we've fully seen a truly smart building yet, because to me, a smart building is really like, if you think about the human anatomy and the brain, right? You have all the different components, but until they're all working in sync and together, really, you're not going to really get the full capabilities and the full benefits of all these different technologies if they continue to work in silos. So we are starting to see some large vendors really work on these integrated data building platforms. Again, we're starting to see some cognitive building systems. They are trying to, you know, wrap their hands around more and more types of technologies. I think if any one vendor goes off and tries to own all the technology, they'll just fail, because within 2 years, it'll probably be out of date. I think the future here is absolutely a lot of smaller companies working together, innovating, but really the interoperability between all these systems into one single cognitive brain that can really coordinate and manage all this data across a building, then we will truly see a smart building. So it's an exciting space, definitely, in any AI application space, but the built environment is also a very, very interesting space to be watching and to be working in right now. So in terms of challenges, or the FM challenge, I probably haven't been doing my job presenting this pretty well if, you know, it's not already obvious some of the challenges that are out there, right, for any stakeholder in the space, because of the sheer volume of innovation and the sheer volume of solutions that are out there. Absolutely huge benefits, but where do you start, right? And really, like any digital strategy or digital transformation for any FM, for anybody, it needs to start with, what are the business priorities? What are the areas that we need to be focusing on, are the most important business outcomes? And I'd love to say that, look, it's a straight line, right, from a particular business priority directly to a solution vendor. It isn't. It never is, right? Every single vendor is different. They have different capabilities, different features. Some of them can help you with a business outcome. Some can help you with multiples. There's the compatibility of your building. There's the specific requirements that you have. Okay, so it's really about how do we make that connection between the business outcomes and the business priorities that we have in our buildings to these solution vendors. So this is where I'm going to start outlining at a high level, but it may get a little bit complex, but please stick with it, and I'll try and reinforce it and go over it. But really, I'm going to try and outline the methodology that we can use here to kind of guide you folks on how we can take those steps. And the first step really is to not jump in and say, what solution vendor should I go with a business outcome? It's really, what are the capabilities I need for each business outcome? Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we define capabilities later. But as we look across capabilities and we look at sustainability, for example, managing and reporting energy usage is a key capability that you need within sustainability. But you know what? It's also a capability that you need within energy efficiency. It's also a capability that you use within equipment health, because you need to monitor your energy usage. If you've spikes in energy usage, it can actually indicate problems with machinery or pumps. Okay. So there's actually some capabilities that are actually common to a lot of your business outcomes. They're the ones you should be prioritizing. They're the ones that you should be focusing on first, because they're the ones that can help you with your most business outcomes. And typically, when you prioritize your capabilities, you can then say, right, do I need individual solutions now for each of these capabilities? I.e., do I need a solution just to manage and report water usage? Do I need a solution just to manage and report energy usage? Well, you know what? Sometimes you can, if you want to have an individual solution, but a lot of the time, there's actually solutions out there that can help you with multiple capabilities. Okay, so you could, like I said, go away and get 3 different vendors here for 3 different, help you with 3 different capabilities. Really, you should be stepping back and looking to see, is there solutions that can help you with multiple capabilities? Only then, when you've identified the type of solution type that you're looking for, should you start to now look in the marketplace for different vendors that can provide those capabilities and also start to meet your requirements. Okay. So the key thing to take away here, I guess, is start with business outcomes, but really it's those capabilities. But how do we define those capabilities? I'm going to share with you some of the, at a high level, some of the data concepts that are used in other industries, right, to really outline how these decisions and choices could be made. The first one is the data ecosystem. Okay, and it's actually quite simple. The data ecosystem is essentially looking at our buildings and what is every single device, equipment, system that in some form or other interoperates with data. Okay, right? And you might look at that for a particular business outcome. So if we look at that for energy, smart meters, right? An energy management system that's analyzing that data, right? Smart meters that's collecting that data. Smart lighting system that's actually switching on and off the lights. Sensors that are measuring, looking at where people actually are to turn on and off the lights. All different types of devices or systems across our building. An example, like I said, there might just be one of 100 ones, could be occupancy sensors within a building. Then we look at the data life cycle, right? And the data life cycle is actually quite easy, right? It's really just the flow or the journey that data goes on within a building across different devices. And data is typically, if you think about it, it's generated somewhere. You can have some devices that will collect data. Some of them will process it and they'll clean it up, but they'll do a bit of data hygiene and they'll structure unstructured data. We know that there's data storage devices. That's another part of the life cycle. We've spreadsheets and tools that can help us manage data. We've algorithms that can help us analyze data. We've screens and pie charts and loads of different ways to visualize and then we're able to action data and feed it back into a system to actually make corrective changes. There are a lot of different versions of the data lifecycle out there. It's not a hard and fast rule, okay? But really, it's just think of it as a journey that data goes on. If we take occupancy sensors, for example, and look at the data lifecycle for them, they're mainly collecting data. They're a dumb sensor, okay, that's really just monitoring whether people or persons are in a particular space at a particular time, okay? You would probably be using an occupancy management system to do the analysis and the report out and the action on those. And that really then gets us a capability within a building that we need. And collecting occupancy sensor data would be key for us to help us maybe with a business outcome of energy efficiency, because we want to switch on and off lights or manage the HVAC system based on the occupancy data that we want to do. Okay. I would pause for questions, but we'll probably keep them probably for the end. But how do we kind of put all this together now, right? So let me kind of, if I can just at a high level, probably summarize what we've actually done here. Really what we're doing, like I said, is we're really initially taking now the data ecosystem and the data lifecycle that I just showed you to really identify capabilities. And that's the first thing that we should really be doing, is prioritizing those type of capabilities we need for a business outcome. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. If you can remember me going through this, we're really looking at, we know what our business outcomes, maybe we're picking these 3 business outcomes as our priority, and we're really just focusing on what those capabilities are. Next, we're going to look at our capabilities and see what type of solution types do I really need for these types of capabilities. So this is where we're looking and seeing, you know what, do I need individual solutions, or can I merge some of these capabilities into single solutions, right? So, wow, because you know what, instead of going with 7 or 8 different vendors and disparate systems, I could end up going with 2 or 3 vendors, right, that are quite interoperable with each other and can provide and support me across all these capabilities and all my priority business outcomes. And I'm after jumping out of it, I apologize. And then finally, once we've identified the solution category or the type of solution, that's where we start bringing in your additional requirements that you might have to really help you identify, you know, who is the best solution vendor to actually pick. So here, for example, we're starting to gather some additional information on your requirements. Okay. But the great thing is that here's a methodology that we're combining now these data models in the industry. The data is there, and very similar to what I was talking about, how AI has evolved, we've also got the technology in terms of the analytics and the AI models to be able to churn through this data and use these data models to actually help us better identify what those types of solutions are. So this is the methodology. I want to show you very briefly how this can be put into practice with some modeling software. So let me jump out of here and let me jump into the platform here. And you might just nod, Derek, if you can see this, just to make sure. Rachel, thank you very much. Okay, so let me just jump in and log into the platform here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a building and we're going to grab as much information about that building as possible in terms of the data ecosystem, right? So we want to find out as much information in the building, like I said, about all the equipment and devices and the other building criteria that might be important for us when we're making decisions about vendors and different technologies. So the way we can do that is I'm not going to show it here. We can actually import BIM models, right? So building information models, that CAD drawings that already have a lot of these systems in place. We can pull this in and it can actually extract a lot of the information about the systems and equipment within buildings, but typically an easy way to do it. And I'm just going to focus here today on just 3 priority outcomes. We'll say these business outcomes are the priority ones for us that we want to focus on. And this will bring up a questionnaire that will ask us questions specifically to that type of data ecosystem. Are those types of equipment and devices that we need to learn more about to be able to basically build a very simple data model of our building. I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually going to open one that I've already created here, okay, for a building. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to run an analysis and run the analytics engine across all that data to show you all the different types of equipment and systems, which is our data ecosystem, which I was talking about earlier, and also the data lifecycle. Okay, so here, for example, we can see sub-meters, or let's go down to maybe there's occupancy sensors in here. There is. So occupancy sensors are present. They're green around data collection, right? Okay, because that's primarily what they do. Okay, so really we're going to cross all the ecosystem here and really defining what are the capabilities across our entire ecosystem. And at a very high level, that gives us a score, right? And this actually is more of a smart building score, okay? And really shows us that we've got a lot of collection capability across this building, but we're actually lacking in terms of analysis and action capability. I've also integration in there. We look at integration between different devices to see the protocols and do they work well with each other or not. But here we can see that, you know, this building is actually scoring well on collection, but gaps here around analysis and action. But really, as I said, what should be real priority for us, and if I just clear these results here, what should be a priority for us is really understanding the capabilities of this building for our priority business outcomes. So let's look at energy efficiency. And we can see energy efficiency actually scores quite highly across this building because there's a lot more of the ecosystem assigned to actually collecting, analyzing, and actioning energy focused data, right? If we look at sustainability, we can see, what can we see? We can see that we're actually lacking around sustainability. So there's definitely work to be done on this building in terms of improving the collection capability is quite good, but there's work to be done. We can actually summarize these capability gaps, and we can see here that sustainability has about a 40% gap and a 38% gap around analysis and action. So what we're doing here is we're getting a snapshot based on our data ecosystem, how this building is actually equipped in terms of the systems and devices and equipment it actually has to be able to help you in terms of collecting, analyzing, and actioning a lot of this data to improve these business outcomes. The next step is once we've identified those gaps, if you remember, it's about now trying to find, right? So we can see now where our particular gaps are. So if I go back to my previous slide here, really now we want to find what are these priority capabilities that we need to start closing these gaps. Okay, so if I go back to my platform, what capabilities, you know, do we need 100 capabilities? No, let's try and find the capabilities that can help us, the least amount of capabilities that can help us close as many gaps across these priority outcomes. So I'm going to just run the model and run the analytics engine, and it will automatically find the best capabilities that are starting to close these gaps. Okay, so we can see fault detection and diagnostics really helps improve energy efficiency. But you know what? It also helps reduce the gap on sustainability. Carbon management and reporting will really help us improve closing the sustainability gap much more. Predictive maintenance, computerized maintenance management systems, water management and reporting. I can let the AI actually automatically identify, what are the best capabilities, or I can go in and say, you know what, I really need to focus on sustainability, and I want to prioritize that, and it'll come back and tell us, right, if that's the one you're prioritizing, then really go with carbon management reporting. Fault detection still really helps you. Waste management and reporting, water management and reporting. Your priority capabilities, okay, presented to you on a plate, right, in terms of what you really need to be focusing on in your building. Then, so what we've actually done is we've actually done this. We've identified what those priority capabilities are to help you with your priority business outcomes. We now need to see, do we need individual solutions for these capabilities? Or are there actually solutions that can do one, two, or multiple capabilities and make it much easier for us to have less solutions across our building? We can do that at the click of a button. By here are all the priority capabilities that we identified. I'm just going to put every single one of them in and let the AI identify for us, if it works. Yes, there's an integrated sustainability solution that can do carbon management reporting, waste management reporting, and water management reporting. So that's definitely one we probably need to be considering. There's a fault detection diagnostic solution that can, we're not saying a specific vendor yet, we're just saying a type of solution. There could be 20, 30, 40 different vendors out there that do FDD. There could be 20, 30 different vendors out there that do preventative, predictive maintenance. There's even probably dozens of vendors out there that do these integrated sustainability solutions that do all these capabilities. But this has shown us that we can actually, with 3 solutions, really be able to focus on our priority capabilities. Okay, so if I just get out fault detection there and I take out my predictive maintenance and just run it again, it should come back 100%. Yeah, 100% for a vendor with this, or sorry, a solution type that does integrated sustainability. So we have now taken the step to here. We've identified a single solution that can help us with the most capabilities. The next step now is, what vendor do I go with, right? So you have a whole bunch of requirements and additional requirements that you may have yourself. So we go into the solution vendor, and this is where we take those capabilities, which were carbon management and reporting, waste management and reporting, and water management and reporting. And now you can start to see it's asking you specific type of client requirements, requirements that you will have specifically yourself around maybe the vendor. How many references or active deployments should that vendor have? Is low price everything? Are you looking for more economically priced but effective, or premium pricing for an enterprise grade solution? Level of automation, then specific questions around maybe some of the additional capabilities. I put in ones here that are quite simple, but you can really specify a lot of these types of questions yourself. We're looking for SaaS solution, and then we can run the analysis again. And the AI, which has been trained on a lot of these different types of vendor solutions, and I'm not putting in specific vendor names here today, I'm keeping it right anonymous, right? But really you can see what it's coming back and telling us is for that integrated sustainability solution that we identified as being the best solution to do the most capabilities for our priority business outcomes. There is one here, there's 3 here that, do you know what, they all actually probably come in pretty close to the mark. If I probably moved around some of these parameters and go with some different requirements, it probably come back with different probabilities around some of these vendors. But you can see all the features and capabilities that each of these vendors pick. Okay, so in summary, what we've gone away and done okay, using the data, using the data models, but also now, as you see, using analytics and AI models, we've really gone on the journey of really looking at what are the priority business outcomes in our building, and really then first and foremost identifying those capabilities that can really help us with the most priority business outcomes. That should be used really to help you identify the type of solution, and only then really getting into the specific type of vendor solution at the end. That's it. Probably a little bit early finished, but I'm hoping there's probably a few questions. I'm happy to go over maybe a few bits and pieces again. Do you want me to give you back control, Derek?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Stop share. There you go.
Thanks for that, Michael. Fantastic presentation as always. One question we have in there, and we have, how can we choose the systems correctly so they can talk to each other, open protocols successfully, assuming this will be based on sensors being installed? So I think the question there is an awful lot of challenge that you see across FM, particularly at the minute, is that there is that closed protocol mindset with an awful lot of vendors. Is that something you see changing, or how can we navigate that, Michael?
So two parts of the question. Do I see it changing, and how do we navigate it? Do I see it changing? I think it has to change, right? I think from the evolution I spoke about, particularly in the built environment, there's so much innovation in the space happening. There's so many different and new solutions emerging. The only way a building is going to get truly smart is if it can integrate and interface with all these different types of solutions and pull all this data across all the different layers to really be able to make the best decisions for the building. So interoperability is everything. And honestly, I think anybody that's not going with fully open interoperability protocols and really essentially going to IP and IoT is really going to be a dead duck, quite frankly. So it's really something that people should really be critical or really be focusing on is interoperability. How do we account for it, and how do we manage it? I think I showed an extra level that we put in earlier when we actually look at the data lifecycle. We also look at the integration capability. So every time we look at devices and equipment and systems across a building, we're actually looking at their integration ability. So if they're closed or proprietary protocol, it's a big red mark, right? Okay. If they're open protocols, it can easily API or application program interface into a lot of these different devices, then that's a huge bonus, because it means that we can interoperate much more across the various solutions and systems. So compatibility between vendors and between different solutions and devices is a huge thing that we look for as well when we're running this model.
Okay, we've another question in there from Inga. Is there any collective portal with lists of gathered and available for and trust to test the best solutions and their providers?
Sorry, can you repeat it actually, Derek? You broke up a little bit on.
Is there any collective portal where you can find this list of vendors available for Ireland that's trusted to test the best solutions?
So that's a great question. Yeah, look, I mean, there's I personally am not aware of any single one, right, that's out there, right? I think the difficulty is that there is no standard process or way right out there right now that it's easier to compare apples with apples across a lot of different vendors. I think names of solutions get bandied around a lot, and people hear about a sustainability reporting solution or a fault detection and diagnostic solution. But a fault detection diagnostic solution with one vendor could be very, very different to a fault detection and diagnostic solution from another vendor. You even see this with computerized maintenance and management solutions, right? They all get under the label of CMMS, but an IBM Maximo is very, very different to maybe an entry-level one that's just being used, maybe in a small restaurant. Okay, so how do you really be able to compare apples with apples when you're trying to identify and really differentiate between all these? It's capabilities, right? You really need to look across all these vendors in terms of their different capabilities. So what we're doing at the moment is our platform, we're actually working with a lot of vendors right now, and we're actually giving vendors the chance to tell us their solution, what is the capability of their solution, and also look at the data lifecycle in terms of their ability to be able to collect, analyze, and go through the different stages for the data they collect for the various business outcomes or capabilities. And we're collecting that data and we're training our model, our AI model, on all that data. So we hope, and our goal is ultimately that our platform will be able to just be that one-stop shop where people can ask the basic questions. Well, not just ask the question of what solution they need. First of all, look at their building and have it help them identify what the gaps are, right? And then based on those gaps, be able to make more informed decisions around what type of capabilities they need and then what type of solutions they need. So look, that's ultimately what we're trying to do with Infosight. It's infinite insights for FM to be able to see into all these and differentiate and identify the best solutions for their particular business priorities.
Thanks for that. We've a great question in here from Chris, and his question, Michael, is: with increased automation in FM comes increased possibility of cybersecurity trust breaches, which requires cybersecurity measures and associated costs. And FM managers aren't very proficient often in IT cybersecurity field. So how do we face those challenges and keep those costs relatively low?
Great question, right? And I would treat security as a business outcome, right? And it could be subdivided into people security and personal security, but also system or device security. Okay, so when you're going across your building now and looking at device security, you need to make sure that you have systems that are collecting and analyzing and monitoring data across your network to collect that data and then to be able to analyze it to identify breaches, okay, and also give alerts and corrective action. That's security software, which is another solution vendor or solution type. Actually, there's multiple different types of solutions and hundreds of different types of vendors, right? So where do you start? You start with this by really, again, identifying security as a priority, and then identifying those capabilities that you actually need. Again, I think you hit the nail on the head. FMs and a lot of people involved in their buildings aren't IT experts. Okay, they're not going to be able to go in and automatically identify the hundreds of capabilities or the scores of capabilities that they may need for security. But what they can do, with maybe the help of someone, is be able to answer a questionnaire around, if they're asked specifically, what type of systems and equipment and devices they currently have within their buildings, and maybe what type of existing capabilities they have. And by just putting in that information about what they know and what they have, they can then get insights from a platform like this into what type of gaps they have, and then what the correct type of solutions and potentially even the correct type of solution vendors are. So that's the gap we're trying to close here. We're trying to, I suppose, empower and enable the FM community to be able to take a platform that you can actually glean so much from your building here by probably spending about an hour answering questions and filling out the questionnaire about specific business outcomes. And that alone will give you a lot of insights into the particular gaps and then the particular types of solutions.
Okay. We've another question here from John Watson. John's after racing down to the bottom line like an awful lot of FMs do at times. Are you able to run ROI or cost benefit analysis for proposed systems, or is it all based on capabilities?
Do you know what? That's a great question, and I get asked that. And we're really, it's something we want to be able to do, but we're just trying to walk before we can run. And the way we can really glean and probably get the best insights into what solutions are delivering the best value is really now to be able to deploy this platform with some, and we're already deploying with early adopters, but as we deploy this platform more and more, we can get better insights into the value that's gleaned from a lot of those types of solutions, and the benefits that our clients are actually seeing from those. If our clients are willing to share that data with us, then and we can keep that data anonymous, we can actually be able to essentially score, rank, and rate a lot of these different types of solutions as well on the actual ROI and the benefit that they're actually bringing to the ecosystem as well. But that's purely at the discretion of the clients whether they want to make that type of information available.
Okay.
It's on the road, it's on the roadmap, I guess.
On the roadmap, so no early adopter case
short.
studies just yet, but hopefully in training.
Correct. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well, look, conscious of everybody's lunch break, and thanks everybody for jumping on. So if there aren't any further questions, thanks so much for joining. And if anybody has any queries around memberships or would like maybe to host a webinar and an event later on in the year, please feel free to get in touch with either myself or Rachel, or if anybody has any queries on memberships, you can chat to Charlie Quinn there. His details are on the screen, and I know Michael very kindly has agreed to send them through some summary slides, maybe just to keep it in the back of your mind, and some prompts for when you're having discussions with your own organizations. Our next event will be in February, and we're hoping that it's going to be around indoor air quality. Rachel is currently organised as we speak, so just keep an eye on our LinkedIn, IWFM Ireland, and we'll see what our next event is. And once again, Michael, thanks very much for your time and your expertise today. It was a great discussion.
Thank you, Derek and Rachel. And look, I just want to say as part of note as well, our goal here is to develop this for the industry, so it just makes people's lives easier. We're very, very keen. We're already working with some great early adopters, but we're very keen to work with more. If anybody's interested, I'll send out those summary slides with my contact details, but by all means, reach out to me on LinkedIn or whatever means. I'd be delighted to have a conversation. Okay.
Brilliant. Michael, thanks a million. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Good luck. Bye-bye.